Is this that JPP podcast?
Drew Brees broke the all-time passing yards record in stunning fashion. Is he the best quarterback of his generation? Where does he rank all time? With no firings yet in Texas, who is in a position to take the NFC East? All that and more this week on Just Press Play.
Pregnant ladies and little kids better get the hell out of the way, because I am running. I'm like Forrest Gump, dude. I am running. So that's the time, baby. The time.
In the summertime.
I want you each to use ombudsman in a sentence next week. I got one for you. My name is Kevin, the official ombudsman of the Just Press Play podcast. You like apples?
All right, welcome back to the second episode this week of the JPP pod. We are missing LJ. I don't know if LJ is still grieving from that Denver loss or what, but we have brought on Uncle Tone. What's up, Uncle Tony?
Hello, hello, hello.
And of course, Pops joins us. As always, the JPP pod is brought to you by MyBookie, and we may get into a few locks this week that you might want to hammer down coming towards weeks. What is it? Week 6 coming up? Is that right?
Week 6, yeah. Week 6.
Week 6.
Yeah.
So, before we get into it, real quick, I know Tony's kind of the playoff guy or MLB guy out of us. Watches more baseball than we do. I'm kind of getting all into the MLB playoffs, Tony. Like way more than I thought I would.
You know, these are some of the most athletic teams I've seen in Major League Baseball in quite some time. I haven't seen what happened today, but, you know, seeing the Boston Red Sox just destroy the New York Yankees, you know, makes my heart feel good and almost makes up for the Dallas Cowboys. But, you know,
we'll get into that.
There are some teams. I think Boston and Houston, that series is going to be just fantastic. And that should be that series there. The winner of that's probably going to win it all. But really,
we're recording
it's fun to watch.
We're recording this on Tuesday night, so the Yankees and Red Sox are playing in Game 4. So who knows what ends up happening? But maybe that's what it is, because I haven't watched some of the. I haven't found the Astros on TV but it's
the Astros won their first series.
They
right?
just rolled through it.
Yeah. They I forgot which one of their players did that last night, but he went on a rant about what is Tiger Woods playing somewhere. You know, how come the Astros aren't on live on prime time? Why are the Astros not getting prime time? Because they've gotten all the day games.
Yeah, Bregman was like, "What do you leave?" He said, "I guess you leave Tiger Woods. He doesn't tee off at 8 a.m. Muhammad Ali does. He's always the main card. So I guess you just saved the Stros for late. I don't know why we haven't played any primetime games, but we're just saving it. Don't worry." And they do. They look good.
They're good.
But let's get on to it's the main topic from the past week of football, and that is old Drew Brees. He didn't not only I guess breaking that record of being the all-time leading passer, doing that on Monday night wasn't good enough for him. So he had to do it in fashion with the touchdown pass. The crowd went nuts in the Superdome. I mean, I just kick it over to you, Pops. I know you like Drew Brees. What were your thoughts watching that moment?
Well, I love Drew Brees, as you know. I just have a little man love bromance for him, or whatever you want to call it. And I looked up a little bit of information on my boy. You my boy, Drew. I looked up a little bit more information. I looked up a little more information on him. And so Drew Brees was only offered 2 scholarships to Kentucky and Purdue. And he took Purdue because of the academics. And he got his degree in, are you ready for this? Industrial management, the same degree yours truly has. How about that? We have the same degree.
Like apples?
You like apples? Of course, he probably made a little more money in his career than I have.
Maybe.
Now, interestingly enough, he was the second quarterback taken in the 2001 draft. The first quarterback taken was Michael Vick, who the San Diego Chargers traded the first pick of the draft to and got who? Tony probably knows. Kevin? They traded the pick to Atlanta. Atlanta picked Vick. The Chargers got back Atlanta's number 5 pick and took a running back.
LT
took
really?
LT.
That trade worked out well.
Tomlinson. So they got LaDainian Tomlinson and Drew Brees in the 2001 draft. 2 future walk-in. Well, no,
LT's already
in the Hall of Fame.
Already got the gold jacket.
He's in the Hall of Fame, and Drew Brees will be, no doubt about that.
First ballot.
And then the only other thing I wanted to add, because I just think I love Drew Brees. There are, I think, 9 quarterbacks that have passed for over 5,000 yards in a season. Let me give you the list. Marino, Brady, Stafford, Manning. That would be Peyton, in case you think it was Eli. That would be Peyton. And then Drew Brees has the next 5. So he's done it 5 times. Each of those guys, I told you, has done it once. Drew Brees is class personified. He owns the city of New Orleans. He went down there, won a title for him. I'd love to see him get another one. Couldn't be happier for a guy. Couldn't be happier for a guy. Could not be happier.
All right, Tony, what did you think? Did you watch that game?
I did. And, I thought it was kind of appropriate. And one of the things it kind of brings a tear to your eye when you see stuff like that, because it's kind of like Ted Williams, who hit a home run on his last at bat.
Yeah.
Him in there. And for him to throw that and make that record with a touchdown pass, I think was appropriate. It looked like to me that Washington knew it and said, "Hey guys, let's just let this guy go past us and see if he let him have his touchdown."
Conspiracy theory Kevin almost came out a little bit, because right as his family hits the field, all of a sudden Washington forgets how to play defense, and the guy,
no kidding, the guy whiffed at that tackle.
So I know Josh Norman has struggles and got benched in that game anyway. Yeah. But it looked like they were running cover 3, and he just jumped the flat for whatever reason, leaving that guy by himself. Traquan Smith by himself. And then that tackle, that was a poor attempt at a tackle.
I'm pretty sure the ghost of Prince only hangs out in Minneapolis, but it sure did look like he was there getting in the way of that play.
Maybe that was the ghost of Prince just making up for that Minneapolis miracle last year.
But and I'll echo what Liff has said. And, we've talked about the GOAT. And I think if you put Brady against Brees, if Brees had the team around him that the Patriots have had around Brady, we probably see Brees with 2 or 3 Super Bowl rings. And I think that's the only thing that separates him. And honestly, I think Brees is probably the better passer of the two. And I think you could argue that Brady may be the better quarterback of the two as far as decision making and things like that. But Drew Brees, phenomenal passer, first ballot Hall of Famer. He's top 5 top 3 in this generation with Manning and Brady, in my opinion. But top 10 overall, I'm not sure that's he's going to make.
So one thing I thought about, and I feel like I've gotten pretty lucky in the father department, but seeing that moment with Drew Brees after he breaks, the biggest moment, breaks the record on a touchdown pass, the Superdome is going nuts. And the first thing he says to his kids is, "You can accomplish anything in life you're willing to work for." It's just like, wow, I just think Brees is a phenomenal person, dad. And those kids have gotten some seriously cool moments with him.
Yeah.
It's going to be things they'll never, ever, ever forget.
Unless 2 out of those 3 become president of the United States, so they're screwed. Because I don't know how in the world they're going to make it any better than his. And I'm just kidding about that. I'm kidding. So, no, we don't want the podcast to get some bad stuff. But no, he is a class act, and everybody you saw that reacted to that, what a class guy. It couldn't happen to a better person. He went through so much adversity. When he got traded, they didn't know if he was ever going to be able to throw a football again. And that was a big leap of faith by Sean Payton and the New Orleans organization.
And that match,
and it's paid off for him.
Sean Payton and that city and New Orleans, it's been just a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Think of some of the moments that Drew Brees and the Saints with Sean Payton have given us just as a football fan. They had the when the Superdome reopened after Katrina and that block punt against Atlanta when the thing just went bonkers.
Yeah.
And then the Super Bowl when they had the gonads do an onside kick after halftime. And then that moment we just watched last night where Brees breaks a record on like you see when Manning broke the record, Favre's record a while back, it was on like a 2-yard pass to Monty Ball or whoever it was when he was on the Broncos. That's what broke the record. Like, it was very anticlimactic. But then you see Brees break it on a 60-yard touchdown pass. It was perfect. And then on the discussion of greatest of all time or where Brees stands, I'm kind of with you there, Tony, on Brees and Peyton kind of started to me this era of where clearly the stats were going to get rewritten. I think Brady and them were good. Manning was really good. Well, Manning was putting up the stats too, but Brees all of a sudden was throwing for 500 yards every game and just doing astronomical things through the air with Sean Payton. So I think in this era, he's right there, probably going to be behind Manning and Brady just as far as playoff success.
I think so.
All time, it's hard for me to throw him in the top 10. But then I started looking at the thing that if you're going to argue Brees as one of the best of all time, like maybe top 3 or on the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks, you look at some of the other greats. They all had like as soon as you think of Brady, you think of he played with Gronk, or you think of the Moss years. Or you can think of Hall of Fame players he played with. Montana played with Rice. Manning had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. Elway had Terrell Davis, a Hall of Famer. Marino had I forget what was the
Duper and Clayton, Mark Duper and Mark Clayton.
Yeah, he had
Fun Bunch, or what were they called?
Yeah, there was a name for the guys. I can't remember, but
I don't know. But and then Brees,
Marx Brothers. I think it was the Marx Brothers. Yeah.
And when you think of Brees, there's not just one person that I know. Michael Thomas is great right now and is in the conversation, but who has
Marcus
he had?
Colston was a steady guy for him,
but not like a Hall of Famer. Not even really.
No,
maybe
probably not.
a borderline Pro Bowler.
Yeah, they had
Marcus Colston ought to have his number retired or in the Ring of Honor at New Orleans.
Yeah,
probably.
Jimmy Graham.
Graham was,
but then they got rid of him in his prime. It seemed like.
Yeah, he had a couple.
Or maybe they got rid of him right at the right time.
Right time. They sold that one high.
I just think that's the argument if you're gonna have the Brees up there. I do think he's done a lot with not much around him as far as that defense is just now becoming a good defense in the past couple of years.
Well, yeah, I think you could, if in this generation, I think you could count off, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes, and Drew Brees. I think you've got it right there.
God,
are you serious? Had to get a Mahomes drop.
That's from my boy LJ right there. I just thought I'd throw in a little Patty Mahomes. We can't get too far in without dropping that little nugget. So
another note from Monday night that I didn't
mention Ben Roethlisberger. So
I did not mention Ben Roethlisberger.
Not yet.
So yeah.
Another note that I wrote down that I just love. One thing you saw, I think Jason Witten had a little more life to him in the game, calling the game, but still, I don't know how he's doing.
Fogged a mirror.
But what I absolutely love what Booger McFarland, some of the sentences that he'll come up with when he was describing those Alabama boys that the Redskins have with Jonathan Martin and Daron Payne. And a couple of the things he said, like they asked him about Daron Payne, and he was like, well, I really like Daron Payne. He's got a thick lower body, some thin ankles. He's a big old boy who can dance like a bear. I just really like Daron Payne. And then he talked about Jonathan Williams, how Jonathan Williams kind of read up. It was the screen pass to Mark Ingram where Williams didn't just go rush, and he kind of stayed back and actually forced a fumble on Ingram, but Ingram ended up getting on it. But they asked Booger McFarland about it. He said, man, that's what I love about these guys. They're big and ferocious, but they're also smart. He didn't just run in there like a blind dog in a meat house. He was keeping his eyes open. And that's good old
dog in a meat house.
That's good old Cajun big boy out of Booger McFarland coming out. I just wanted to stand beside him and get some more quotes from him.
Hey, so far Booger is the star of Monday Night Football. I think.
No doubt.
I think Joe Tessitore does a great job as the play-by-play guy. But when it comes to who's adding a little flavor to it, Booger is definitely the star. With a name like Booger, I guess what'd you expect?
I think there's something to say that maybe we just need to get rid of the two guys in the broadcast booth and have one guy, and then Booger or somebody like him down in a chair that runs back and forth on the field. That's tremendous.
They show I can't help but laugh when they show Booger moving around in his little recliner chair on the sideline
with his seatbelt on.
And like Tony said, his sippy cup. Oh my God.
Yeah, so he said, Tessitore said, "Oh, so Booger, I see you're moving down closer. Yeah, I want to get close to this action. This is going to be the one. I want to get down here." It's like, dude, you're not leaving the chair, man. What? It's almost like he's in a scooter and we're watching him go by. He's like,
Booger scooter.
Booger scooter, yeah. I wonder if they've got some kind of bumper sticker on the back of that chair.
So moving from seat. Monday night on to the clunker that was Sunday night. And I have a theory on the Dallas Houston game. I wonder if maybe there was an agreement on the losing coach will get fired, and Bill O'Brien and Jason Garrett both went into it trying to tie. Because that actually, that looked like two coaches purposely trying to lose the game. That was the worst coaching I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say this, and you know how I like to talk about the Cowboys, but MyBookie.ag made me some hellacious money on Sunday night because you know what?
There we go.
I was in Houston. I think a couple weeks ago I said Houston's one of the worst teams that I've seen. They're just not a good team.
That.
But so the Cowboys were plus 3.5, and I thought, you know what? If you're ever going to go with them, go with them. And so I took plus 3.5 and under, and I made my money and made my parlay, and we had a good time. So so that part was good. But man,
but not the Cowboys part.
Not the Cowboys, but there were some very good defensive plays being made, I think, in some situations. But once again, you saw where they were just outcoached. They were in situations where they had some timeouts that shouldn't have been taken that cost them at the end of the half. It was just not good. And finally, this week, Jerry Jones finally started to say something. And I think it sounded like to me we started to hear Stephen Jones starting to turn on it. So I don't know if Stephen is starting to take over some of the reins and telling Dad to sit down and shut the fuck up so I can take care of this
there
team.
We go.
But you saw
now
that he was not excited about that game should have been won because they knew that the Giants came in and beat them. If the Giants can beat them, then the Cowboys should be able to beat them.
Well, and coming into that game, the NFC East is wide ass open.
It's up for grabs. It's up for
who
grabs
wants it?
for
It's who
anybody.
wants it. And so the thing, one, like you said, Jason Garrett was outcoached by Bill O'Brien, which I think says a lot about Jason Garrett.
Really bad.
And a couple of takeaways I had, I'll get to my problem with the Cowboys because, of course, I have one. But one, DeAndre Hopkins was by far and away the best player on that field. He is incredible.
Yeah.
He could be the best receiver in football.
I think he's up there.
We might have to talk about that in a little bit.
He's good. Yeah.
If he's not the best, he's right.
Yeah.
There's some analysis from Tony right there. He's good.
He's good.
And then I feel bad for Deshaun Watson. That man was taking a beating. He was coming back.
Some of that's his own fault, though.
Yes,
Come on.
There was
now.
a couple.
I mean,
there was one where he went for it at the goal line and got hit real hard. And I kind of get that because you're going for the touchdown. But there's other times where Deshaun Watson, he needs to sit down and watch Russell Wilson film. And because Russell Wilson has the art of, if it's worth taking the hit, he'll go for it. But he knows when to leave his feet or go out of bounds or slide. And Deshaun Watson just takes a beating after beating after beating. If I'm Bill O'Brien, though, and my quarterback, I don't know what they were doing. They were pulling a stethoscope out and trying to check through his shoulder pads. I don't know how you even use a stethoscope through shoulder pads. But if my quarterback's getting a stethoscope brought out, then we're going to quit running power runs with our quarterback. That's going to happen right now. Whoever the future coach of the Texans is the future coach of the Texans just praying that Bill O'Brien will quit running Deshaun Watson because Bill O'Brien ain't the future.
Yeah.
No, and maybe he's a doctor. That's why he also checks with a stethoscope through shoulder my pants. So
if you're around Bill O'Brien, he asks you to turn your head and cough. Run.
Don't do it.
Run away.
So here's my problem with the Cowboys, and there's a lot, but here
pick only one, Kev.
So in overtime, the ball is on the opponent's 42-yard line.
Yes. Oh,
it's
my God.
4th and 1. And I know we just got on to, we talked about the Texans coach who went for it on 4th down, but that was on his own side of the field when he went for it. But here you are, you're the Cowboys, you're on your own 42. The Cowboys should not be in this game. Their defense had played well, but they gave up a ton of yards between the 20s. They just were doing good in the red zone, and the Texans weren't capitalizing. And the offense really wasn't great. But somehow the Cowboys are in the game, in overtime, a field goal wins it. And on the opponent 42, 4th and 1, you decide to punt it. Instead, go for it. And here's the thing.
Well, can I add, by the way, they have the number 1 rusher in the NFL. They have the number 5 rushing offense in the NFL. They have a reasonably good offensive line. Yes, they're missing their center.
Oh,
for goodness sake, go for it.
Let me add on to that. So in the Dak-Zeke era, since Dak and Zeke have both been on the Cowboys have gone for it a total of 19 times on 4th and 1. They have been successful a total of 18 times. That is 94% success rate on 4th and 1 with those two. Then let's back up even further. If you're the Cowboys, this is what you've been building for the past 7 years. You've decided that we're going to be a power football team. You decide in 2011, we're going to take Tyron Smith over J.J. Watt. You know what? It's debatable, but I'm fine with it. I'm cool with taking the left tackle. Then in 2013, you take Travis Frederick in the first round, and then you pay him a ton of money. I know he wasn't in the game, and then 2014, you take Zach Martin in the first round over a couple of Alabama guys on defense like C.J. Mosley and Clinton Dix, who the Cowboys could have desperately needed, but they decided to go with big offensive line And then in 2016, you take Zeke with the 4th overall pick, when there's definitely some defensive holes you could have filled, like Jalen Ramsey, the pick right after. This is what you've basically said the past 5 years. We are going to be stronger and run the ball over people. And you have. And then on 4th and 1 with the chance to win the game, you decide not to go for it. And now all the Texans have to do, they've been getting to the red zone over and over again all game. They just haven't scored touchdowns. But in overtime, a field goal wins it. I don't understand it. And I think Tony's right. Finally, we hear Jerry Jones start to backtrack a little bit on his Jason Garrett love. And that just, I don't think he'll get fired. I think he'll hang around all year.
What did he say? I guess I didn't hear what Jones said.
He questioned the punt on that 4th and 1. He questioned it, and he wondered why we didn't go for it, and just was disappointed in the
Stephen
play
was a
call.
little more emphatic.
Tony?
I don't remember Stephen's exact quote, but it was, we need to, those are the times that we need to, establish ourselves or something like that. It was a better quote than Jerry just saying, well, I'm a little disappointed. That's anyway. Here's the thing.
Well, it's just the capital that you've put into the offensive line. Three of those guys are making the majority of your money.
And you're trying to establish yourself as we're going to be a good defense. We're going to control the ball. We've got a guy that can't really pass the ball downfield very well. We're going to control the clock. We're going to control the line of scrimmage, and we're going to play defense. And here's your chance. It's 4th and 1 on the opponent's 42. This is what you do.
This is the identity of your team. This is the identity of your team.
Yeah.
At least you think it is.
Yeah. And this is a defining moment in a team's character. And there it was, 4th and 1. You build your character with that. A couple weeks ago, we talked about these first-time head coaches, how they're going with fourth. We were lambasting Frank Reich for taking that 4th down in that overtime. But he has to. He can do that because he can get away, but he's a first-time head coach, and he's just trying to establish a character for that team. So nobody's going to get mad at him for saying, he's really trying to build him, trying to give them that can-do attitude. But when you've been there as long as Garrett, and you see those statistics that Kev just rolled off, you go for it, except you don't have the character, the balls, the cojones to step up and say, oh, geez, I made a mistake. He can't do it. He's
playing scared. He was playing not to lose, and he wasn't playing to win.
Head coach. He's terrible head coach. Terrible.
Yep.
You make that decision. You make that call. You go get it. If you don't get it, you turn around and go, boys, defense, hey, we tried to win it. Go suck it up for us. But when you don't, you punt it down there, and the defense is like, well, shit, I guess we better try to hold them. And guess what happens?
We better do it again. Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins turns into Michelle Barifnikoff and does like 4 or 5 twirlies in the middle of the field. And
those were amazing.
Yeah.
The B button back to back. Yeah.
Fucking fantasy football game. But you know what? It's fine. It's fine. Go for it, man. Go for it.
Now we know why he's mad,
Jeez.
I'm still sticking with it. So you know what? Let's just keep Garrett around all year, and we're going to suck. We'll get a good pick. And as soon as the year's over, we fire him and we go down to Oklahoma or go up to Oklahoma and give Lincoln Riley a blank check. And you say, what would you like to make to be the Dallas Cowboys head coach? Because that is the next Sean McVay. I'm telling you, that's what I'm praying for, but probably won't happen. We'll probably just stick with Jason Garrett.
Yeah, I don't know. We may go steal that Texas coach, Tom Herman, who we ought to go get.
Yeah.
But he's
in the NFC
making
East,
more money at the UT than he would be at the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think he is. He is.
So we mentioned the NFC East is wide open, and it really still is because the Cowboys, every team lost this week. The Cowboys lost, the Redskins lost on Monday night, the Eagles continue to lose, the Giants. They scored 30 points finally, and then they also lost. But now Ajayi's out for the Eagles, who I kept thinking the Eagles will get it right eventually. If you had to choose one to win the NFC East, who do you choose?
I'm still going. I went with Redskins as a buy.
You were Redskins early.
And I still think they've probably right now we'll see what AP's got, if he's dislocated his shoulder, if that's going to be a lingering injury or what that is. We need to hear more about that. But, with AP giving you a 900 to 1,100 yard season, I think the Redskins could establish, and the league that division is so weak that you win a couple of games here or there and you could be there. Now, Philadelphia still has the tools to get it done.
I think Philadelphia has something to say about it. Yes,
Carson Wentz didn't start the season coming back from that ACL. You knew it was going to take him a little time to get warmed up, and they're still not there. They lose Ajayi, which is not that big of a loss, honestly. The way they run their offense, Smallwood and Clement, when he's healthy, is probably just as good as Ajayi. They may miss Darren Sproles more than they miss anybody because he's the guy that made those third down plays for them. But you saw how good they were last week with Jeffrey. Zach Ertz phenomenal. They've got the weapons.
He was good again.
They are probably going to win that division, and we'll see if the Redskins can sneak in as a wild card. The Falcons going down helps them, but the Saints winning and Carolina winning does not. It's going to be pretty interesting.
Dad,
I'll tell you, I think Wentz's arm looks alive.
Yeah, it looks
saw
fine.
him make a few passes. His arm looks good. He took a few hits. I think Wentz is going to be back to form. I really think there's a distinct possibility now. Why didn't Philly trade for L. Bell?
So interestingly, I'm glad you brought that up.
There's rumors out there.
I mean, go get Le'Veon Bell and freaking let's go win let's go back to back. So you put Le'Veon Bell on that team,
they become so. They restructured
the prohibitive favorite.
They restructured Fletcher Cox's contract, which he was due to make, I think, 11 or 8 million this year and 11 million next year. And they restructured to where he'll only make like the bare minimum these next 2 years, but he already got a signing bonus and the back half of his contract's guaranteed. So he's going to get his money now regardless. So that's why he chose to do it. But what that did is that freed up $7 million this year in cap and I think $11 million next year. So that happens to be just enough for the trade for Le'Veon Bell. If they do the trade, that is just enough for the cap hit. They say that was not in any need to try to go get Bell, and they keep throwing water on the rumors. But I'm with you. Why not go for it?
Well, and it works for Pittsburgh, right? They're trading him to the NFC. It's not in there. I mean, it works for everybody. It really makes sense.
Now, the other one that I heard just before we went on today, and again, we're taping this on Tuesday, is the inquiry.
Yeah, by the time this comes out, maybe they've already done something.
Yeah,
Who knows?
they inquired on LaShawn McCoy, which
I thought that was interesting.
Probably a better fit for Philadelphia than Le'Veon Bell. He's got a little more power to him. Kind of fits that working man kind of offense that they do have more than Bell probably does. But Bell in Philadelphia,
that's where Shady came from, right? He came.
That's where he started.
Yeah. Okay. So there was some talk of that. Now McCoy, I don't know if he has a no trade clause or anything in a contract. I don't know that he would go back. But
I think McCoy would be.
Let me see. I can leave Buffalo and go to a contender in Philly.
His stint in Philly, the reason that went away is him and Chip Kelly clashed heads when Kelly went there. So now that Kelly's gone, I don't think McCoy has any problem with the city or with that ownership or any of that. So I think he would be happy. Plus, like Dad said, can I leave crappy ass weather in Buffalo who were not winning and go to Philly who maybe wins the Super Bowl? Yeah, I bet he signs up for that pretty quick.
Yeah.
Well, and Philly's still in that thing that we talked about a couple of pods back. I mean, they've got the quarterback at the right salary. They've got a pretty solid defense. They've got a pretty decent offensive line. I mean, they could go sign. Now, the thing is, I think, what is Bell? Is Bell 27?
I think he was like 28 or 9.
28 or 9.
Maybe he's 28.
He's right
now,
on the edge
Shady
of
is
that
30, and I think Shady's an old 30. I really do. And now Shady's got some off-field issues that are still kind of lingering.
But we're in week
out
5.
there.
I would think those would come out by now if they were going to go do anything with them. And they were
probably. If I'm Philly, I go after Bell. I think I go.
Yeah.
Well, it depends what the asking price is.
Yeah. So if you think so, last thing on this, if you think that if this is a 1-year rental, then you may want to go get McCoy because he's less of an impact to you, and that gives you some more money for next year to sign a true running back and go after him because
Wentz will come up soon.
Yeah, the thing about Bell, that's making him hard to trade is it's not just this year, it's next year. He's looking for that long-term contract. You sure as hell ain't going to franchise him. And so he's looking for
he ain't
a
gonna show up.
contract. It's going to be tough. But if you could work it out, that could make Philadelphia, if you put Carson Wentz with Le'Veon Bell for 4 years, I mean, look at the offensive juggernaut that Pittsburgh has been for the last 4 or 5 years. I know maybe LJ doesn't believe that, but they are. And so, I think Wentz probably could be, not saying he is, could be a better quarterback than Roethlisberger, but we'll have to see about that. And you give him Bell for 3 or 4 years, that could be a 2 out of 4 Super Bowl trip,
I just think with the Bell thing, I don't think they can give him a long-term deal and give Wentz the money that a quarterback demands, that Wentz will demand. So if they trade Bell, I think they're going into it, and it would be a win-win still. It'd be a win for Pittsburgh because they get what they want. They get something out of Bell. And then Bell would agree to say, all right, we're going to go. I'm going to play for the remainder of this season. Let's go win a Super Bowl, and then I'm going to go be a free agent and make my money somewhere else. You don't have to pay me. And the Eagles get their Super Bowl, and they lose a couple of draft picks, but at the end of the day, they might not need the draft picks if they got Wentz. Yeah. But we'll move on. The other big game of this week was the Chiefs and Jags, and it ended up being kind of a letdown because Blake Bortles turned into the Blake Bortles who we all know and love, not the
He
one
threw
that
for
we kind of think might be okay.
457 yards.
He always backs
Bortles
his.
did?
Oh, he always
he?
falls down into a good fantasy day. It's some bullshit. I don't know how he ends up with 20 points after he looked like they could make a blooper reel of some of the throws he made, and it would make on NFL Follies a full episode of it. It was ridiculous. But I just want to ask you,
But I digress.
Pops, I go to
Go
you
ahead.
first. What did you learn from that Chiefs-Jags game, if anything?
Well, I didn't get to see any of it, so I got home and I wanted to turn it on, and I saw it was like, I mean, the Chiefs were up by 21 plus points, something like that. And I mean, just immediately what I think I learned, not seeing any of it, was that that good offense, and this is unusual, but that good offense beat that good defense. And Bortles is not, I don't care how many yards he passed for. He's not going to come through when you need him. He's not a championship quarterback. And it made me think Kansas City is for real.
Yeah.
So
Tony?
that's what I learned not seeing the game.
Do you echo those thoughts? Or
Yeah, and so here's the deal with Jacksonville, and I really thought Jacksonville was going to, at the very least, make this a real close game. But now for the last 2 weeks, you've seen Kansas City do something they didn't do for the first three, and that's win big, win in different situations. So they had to really battle for 2 of those quarters against Jacksonville. And so you saw Mahomes not have a huge statistical day, but yet they still won. You saw their defense come alive. Jacksonville survives by rushing 4, and they normally rush 4 and they get to the quarterback. Mahomes made it so hard for them to rush 4 and be successful to get the quarterback with his movement and his ability to flush the pocket and deliver from outside the pocket. I thought that was interesting. And Kareem Hunt, although it wasn't a big, huge day, had a good enough day to really keep them balanced.
he does enough.
And so that's going to be key for them as they move down the stretch, which something that we've talked, Andy Reid teams sometimes have that struggle with that balance, but their defense really came alive. Great win at home. So we'll see what happens Sunday night, because this will be the last
Sunday
of the 3
night
tests
could be-
I think
Oh,
we
yeah.
really got to have, because you go into Denver the last week and you beat the Broncos on a comeback game. You come home, which could have been a letdown against the number 1 defense in the league, and you beat them. So now go to the GOAT.
To New
Go-
England.
Go mess with the GOAT and see if Belichick can screw with your head. And this will be the final test. And if they pass it, then I'm going to have to say that Kansas City probably is looking at 14-2, 15-1, and number 1 seed with a bye and looking at being the AFC champion.
I think in that game, I learned more about. I think we'll learn, like you said, this week coming up. I think we'll learn Kansas City. This will be a huge test for both teams. I think a lot of points will get scored, and I can't wait to watch. I think it'll be fun. But in that Jags-Chiefs game, I think you just learned that the Jags are just that they're only going to go as far as Blake Bortles can take them, and he just can't. He just is.
And he can't take it.
Yeah,
He's going to have those moments. There was a couple throws. He threw a screen that went straight to a Chiefs defensive lineman for a touchdown. Then he had the play where he threw it right off the back of his own offensive lineman's helmet. It just when you're that defense and you get down by 10 and you have to look like you get down by double digits to Mahomes, and you look at your offense and go, can Mahomes really come back? Even if we hold him, can Bortles do it?
Yeah.
And I don't think they believe in it.
And I'm going to disagree with you a little bit, Kevin, and here's why. They've never built that team to be for Blake Bortles to take it anywhere. That is, they're built. Jacksonville is building themselves just like the Baltimore Ravens did, where they need a game manager so that just like Trent Dilfer, so that their running game and their defense can control a ball game, and that's how they win it. They don't.
But that's
need,
the thing.
Yeah.
Today's game,
So
they make the rules where defense can't do what the Ravens did.
Jacksonville made it to the championship last year, right? They were in the AFC Championship.
But at some point, Bortles has to make a throw. And in the second half, Tom Brady made the throw and Bortles did.
I think every once in a while he can make that throw. But, you can't ask him.
Well,
no, you can. I mean, they beat
everyone.
We were talking about it when they beat New England in game 2. It's like, oh, well, maybe there's something, because he had a phenomenal game. But on the road.
He's good when they're winning.
Yeah. Shit, Kevin, they're all good when they're
Playing
winning.
from ahead.
Shit, Dak
Exactly.
Prescott's a combination of Cam Newton and Jared Goff when they're winning. But, I just think that that's for everyone to judge Blake Bortles as being a top 5 or top 10 quarterback in his class is that's just not him. And if they think they need a quarterback like that to go to the next level, then they do need to look somewhere else. But that's not the way they've built that team. That they built that team for Leonard Fournette. And if they're wrong, he can't stay healthy. And that was a risk when you drafted him. If he can't stay healthy, then they're not going to be that good. They need to survive this hamstring from Fournette, or they just signed Jamal Charles, I believe, today.
Yeah.
And so we'll see if
Really?
Jamal
Yeah, they just
has
signed
got
Jamal Charles
anything.
because their backup Clement.
If he's got anything left in the tank,
injury.
There's a possibility they could right the ship here during the middle of the season and give Fournette that extra 2 or 3 weeks he needs to really recover from that hamstring, and they'll be right back where they need to be.
And that is worth noting. Their bell cow back wasn't there, and that does change things. And they are built to get up by a 7 and then let that defense play. I just worry in the playoffs, at some point, you're going to get down the game, and I just don't trust Bortles. But who knows? Moving on from that game and on to, not necessarily a game, but we talked about it a little bit on Sunday. I don't know what happened to Mason Crosby. I don't know if he still has a job or what, but just the Packers in general. We had this conversation with the Patriots a few weeks back. Where do you guys stand on the Packers? Are we ready to write them off, or
no?
What do you think?
Look, man.
I see Pop shaking his head over there. He seems a little disgusted.
Go ahead, Tony. Let me hear what you say.
I've been saying this every single week. Do not look past the Detroit Lions while they're at home. Time and again, these guys are a tough out in Detroit. They get them on the road, and Matt Stafford loses his freaking mind. But you get them at home, and they are a tough out. Now, you know what? I'm not going to write somebody off when your field goal kicker, who is arguably one of the best
Mason
kickers
Crosby.
in the last 5 to 10 years, he misses 5 field goals. Dude, he either needs to sleep more with his wife or not sleep as much with his wife or girlfriend or whatever his partner, whatever. But he needs to stop doing what he's doing or whatever he did Saturday night, because, man, you talk about getting the yips. I haven't seen yips like that since Steve Sachs couldn't throw the ball from second base to first base for the Dodgers, and that was a long time ago. That was painful to watch. To watch Crosby miss those field goals, that was just painful, you know. And
you could see it in him. He didn't think he was going to make it when he walked out there. It was bad. It was bad.
I would say don't. I wouldn't make any judgments from the Packers from that particular ball game at Detroit, and your field goal kicker, drops a shoe.
That defense, Dad, go ahead.
Let me add a little to it. Here's the thing about the Packers, and I don't necessarily want to write them off because they do have number 12 still playing behind center, and I mean he is an insanely talented guy. But so they got really one good healthy receiver in Adams.
He was doubtful going into the game. They weren't even sure if he would.
He was
play.
doubtful going in. Allison's got some little injury now. A concussion. He's concussed. That defense, even if Clay Matthews does get to the quarterback, they're going to throw a flag on him. Mason Crosby can't kick a field goal now. That should change. Mason Crosby's a legitimate kicker, but good God, that was fugly. I'm not really willing to write them off, but give me one more week or two like that, and they will be on the playoffs list for me. They're not on it yet, but they're.
Hey, Kevin, do me a favor. Could you tell me what was Jimmy Graham's line from Sunday?
I'd have to look up. I didn't see him. I watched a lot of that game. I didn't see Jimmy Graham at all.
You did call that he needed to do some stuff.
If Jimmy Graham didn't score, I don't think that he did. I'm not for sure. But this is a shout out to my good buddy Jim Taint McGee. Jimmy Graham was a bad pick, man.
He had 6 receptions, 76 yards, 0 TDs.
You've got 2 wide receivers
6
out
for
of the game.
76.
Pick your game up and score a fucking touchdown for your team.
You know who did catch a touchdown? Marquez Valdez-Scantling and the backup tight end Lance Kendricks.
Lance Kendricks scores and Jimmy Graham doesn't. Come on, man. This guy, it's just ridiculous. Just ridiculous for people to believe that Jimmy Graham is a top tier tight end. So that's disappointing to me. And they did that. They did that a couple years ago, and this is where McCarthy is in a little bit of trouble. He doesn't make the playoffs. I think McCarthy has made some not so good personnel decisions. Jimmy Graham is one. Jared Cook was one. They cannot make that position work, and they have made some poor decisions because of it. He's in trouble.
I gotta give you something on that. that. I mean, they have not made the tight end position work for a number of years, and they should. I mean, they should be able to do that. So you're right. That's got to be to McCartney. I mean,
so the only thing, and I'll move on from the Packers. The Packers were almost going to be my buy this week. I was going to try to buy them a little low, but I actually ended up.
You can buy them low.
Well, actually, so by LJ, I was talking with LJ, and he's got this new metric where we buy them, where we can actually kind of see the prices, like we go by the power rankings, and so I'm even buying a little lower. But the Packers, I will say, and here's why I think they can right their ship. I still don't know about the NFC North. I think the Bears are right now and sitting in a nice spot, but the Bears do have Mitch Trubisky, and that could go off the rails at any time, and a rookie head coach. And then the Vikings, I just don't know. That defense doesn't look like the defense that we thought. And Kirk Cousins is good now, but I just don't know about Kirk Cousins. So the person I trust,
Kirk Cousins still has a solid game.
He's had a very good few games. He really has. But if we're picking one quarterback, I'm taking Aaron Rodgers, number 12.
Yeah.
And they have the game coming up this week is Monday night at playing the 49ers in Lambeau. I think they're favored by 9.5. I'm putting the money down on them. I think they blow them out because next week they get a bye and they can get healthy. So I think you come into this game, you blow them out. Aaron Jones will get the ball finally. Hopefully McCarthy realizes that Aaron Jones is just much better than Jamal Williams. But I think that the Packers get it right. And the biggest takeaway I have is that Aaron Rodgers in that game, he scrambled around and looked like Aaron Rodgers. It didn't look like the guy dragging a leg the couple weeks back. He actually looked like maybe he's going to be okay. And they just get this win. All of a sudden, they go into the bye, one game above 500. They get healthy. They get their receivers back. Maybe Jimmy Graham makes an appearance in that offense. Maybe not. Who knows? But I think they're going to be okay. And it's a quarterback league. And if we're betting money on a quarterback in that division, I'm putting mine on Aaron Rodgers.
It's Minnesota and Green Bay coming out of that division for any type of playoff.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that Chicago will carry through it. Hey, you can say what you want to about Minnesota. They went to Philadelphia and beat the Eagles, and that's tough. That's tough.
They did. All right. Well, let's go ahead. And since we talked about a little buying teams and whatnot, Dad, we'll start with you. What team are you? Who you buying this week?
Well, I'm really torn because I'm trying to. LJ's got this little metric.
How do I get that metric? You boys didn't send me the metric. I see how it is.
Oh, maybe we didn't send it to Tony.
I don't need
it. You know what? I'm just going to
LJ, you and LJ got a little beef, so he's got to handicap you a little bit.
Right.
I'm just going to buy who I want to buy, and I'm not going to worry about the cost and buying low and all that. I'm going to buy solid stocks, okay? So I'm buying a solid stock that's going to give me a good return. I'm at this age where I'm going to retire. I hope to retire in a number of years. I want solid returns. Okay,
it's ROI, baby.
With that, I am buying my boy Drew and the New Orleans Saints. That's who I am buying. I told you I'm buying solid returns is what I'm buying, and that is you, my boy Drew. That's who I'm buying. New Orleans Saints.
Well, after watching them, that offense got rolling. The defense looked good Monday night. I'm not hating on that pick, except for you're not buying cheap at all.
I'm not buying them low, but that's all right.
You should have bought them when they were 0-1. Do I remember right? Did Tony say did he cross the Saints off at one point, or almost cross the Saints off?
I think he might have. I don't remember.
Him off.
He was flirting with it.
I was flirting with it. I said we got to see how that comes out because between them and the Falcons and the Panthers, we'll see.
Anywho, who you got this week? So Dad's buying expensive. He's throwing some big money around.
I need to make sure.
I'm making good, solid investments. That's what I'm doing.
I should pay more attention. Have I bought Carolina yet?
Dad can tell you.
No, Tony, you haven't. They were on my list.
Buying
Carolina.
I am buying the Carolina Panthers under the radar because everybody's looking at the Saints.
You also aren't buying cheap, though. I feel like they've got to be a little bit up there. But they have gone a little under the radar.
But nobody talks about them. But here you have Cam Newton, who's starting off, have one of his better statistical years. They're winning without Greg Olsen.
Who may come back this week.
They're pretty balanced. McCaffrey has proven to be able to run on the ground and not just catch through the air. Well, I guess everybody runs on the ground.
And take the hit. I mean, McCaffrey's learned to I mean, he can play.
And they're getting Thomas Davis back and Greg Olsen back this week, I believe.
Yeah. And if you'll notice, DJ Moore is starting to catch a few more passes, starting to get more. This kid is athletic, great receiver.
And I think Cam Newton and Norv Turner are just going to get better and better as the season goes. I kind of like that.
Yep. They're not going to win pretty, but they're going to win. And they've got they've got 3 running backs and Anderson, McCaffrey, and Newton. And so I think they're really I like the Panthers.
All right, LJ is buying. He kind of he said he's going to go with the LA Chargers as the team he's buying, and I thought about them as well. He said it's a little too late. His message to me was it's a little too late to buy low on them, but he says that it's the only team in the AFC West that he trusts. I guess he's just acting like the Chiefs aren't a team anymore because it hurts him too much. I don't know, but
he's so
but
good.
I think that I like that a little bit. The Chargers have been winning ugly, and all that matters is getting wins, and they barely won this past week, but they're going to get
and they usually finish.
They're going to get Bosa back.
Finish strong.
And then Bosa and Ingram are going to be monsters on the end on the defensive side. And then Phillip Rivers does usually finish strong, as Dad said. I don't mind that buy at all.
Yeah.
They aren't going to win their division.
LJ needs to figure out he can watch more television than just whoever's playing against the Broncos or in the Broncos division. So the Chargers, they're a 500 team to me, and that I don't know that that's going to make the playoffs. In the AFC.
I think I disagree with you too. I think you're by yourself on that one.
I disagree with you.
Yeah, they are going to get to play those freaking Raiders, twice, and they'll get them again. And but playing the Chiefs twice and Broncos at home, I think it's going to be a tough one for them. And I'm just not that. I don't know that they're a playoff ready team. Maybe next year, but hey, they can put up points. There's no doubt about it.
I think that defense will only get better. It's not going to get worse.
I think the defense will only get better. I agree. Well, who you buying?
So I am going, and I might have let LJ talk me into something, and it might end up biting me in the rear, in the tuchus, as Greeny would say. But I'm buying the Indianapolis Colts. So they are 1-4 right now. So they're down there. They're down there low.
That's a cheap buy.
So I'm getting them really low.
Wow. Tony, he's younger than us. He's got time to make a bad move and
try to take risks. Yeah, that's right. Your portfolio needs to be full of risks. That's correct.
He's all risk.
But let me tell you, here's why I'm going with them. So I think they will. They played on Thursday, so they're going to get a little more healthy. Hopefully, coming into this next week where they play at the Jets. If they get T.Y. Hilton back, they got a Darius Leonard on defense. Their linebackers kind of been a stud. I think the defense is okay. They're not good, but the defense is okay. And I think Andrew Luck is okay. I think his arm is back. I've seen him make some throws that I like. And I just looked at their schedule. The next 3 weeks, they're 1-4 now, but the next 3 weeks they got at the Jets, Bills at home, and Raiders at home. And then so if they can win those 3, they go into their bye 4-4. And that division, the AFC South, just doesn't really scare me. I know Jacksonville's really good, but I just don't know about Bortles. I think all of a sudden they get a defensive injury and they're maybe not the team we thought. I know y'all bought the Titans. They threw up a clunker to the Bills. And then the Texans, I think the Texans could be good, but I don't know. There's just so many question marks. If the Colts get to 4-4, the best quarterback in that division to me is Andrew Luck. And it's kind of like what I said with the Packers division. It's a quarterback league. I think I'm going to go Luck. I just think the Colts have a shot. I'm not saying they make the playoffs, but they have a shot at it, and they'll at least get to 500. And I'm buying, as you said, I'm buying low. I'm buying way down there in the bottom of the barrel.
Low.
So.
Yes, you are.
So with that said, that gets us on to the...
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were.
And LJ is going with, I guess he didn't want, he's right on board with you, Dad. And I'm with LJ on this. Both of us are. And we just didn't want to buy because I guess we don't have the money to buy as high as you. But the Saints and Drew Brees are who we thought they were. They had a little hiccup in week one, but that defense is slowly starting to get there. I liked what I saw from Cam Jordan, looked good. That rookie Davenport, who they traded up for in the first round, starting to kind of figure things out. I just think the defense, like we said with the Chargers, they're only going to go up from here. And this is what LJ was saying. And then LJ's main point, and it was kind of like what you said, Dad. Your boy Drew. I'm just buying Drew Brees stock. I think they have a shot at one more run. Ingram and Kamara, I don't know. I'd be a little nervous if I'm a Kamara fantasy owner. But as far as the Saints team, that running game looks electric. And Michael Thomas is up there for the top 5 receivers in the NFL. The Saints are who we thought they were.
Well, yeah, let me say this. Yeah, any fantasy football owners out there, if I'm in the league with you, I will buy Kamara right now, sight unseen. If
he's still the best player on the field.
I have him, and I'm not selling him. I'm not giving up on him.
When he's in between the white lines,
he had a little bit of a knee tweak. Hey, he had a little knee tweak. No. You got fresh legs coming in.
And I think they wanted to let Ingram have his moment because it was his first game back. I'm totally with you. If anyone's selling Kamara stock, that is when I'm buying all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all about it. So here's the thing about the Saints, and you guys both, Lifford's buying them, and they are who you thought they were. Here's the thing about the Saints. If you're buying them because of Drew Brees right now, you're buying them for the wrong reason. The way that the Saints are winning football games right now is because of that dynamic duo they've got in the backfield. They've learned to balance their offensive attack. When defenses try to stop the run, they can go over the top with Michael Thomas and they can go deep with Cameron Meredith. So, but they have to be able to run
Well,
the
I think
football.
they will.
It's not Drew Brees' team. I don't know that it's Drew Brees' team anymore. I think it's Ingram and Kamara's team. And he understands that. He understands that. And for them to be able to win, he can't play like he's played the first 4 weeks of the season. He has got to play like he played last night, which was, of course, they wanted to get the record, but he's going to have to be more conservative and be more of a a game style quarterback.
Well, that sounds a lot like John Elway finally getting Terrell Davis is what that sounds like.
I totally agree with you.
They were close last year. They were close last year.
Well, and so my response to that,
I'm not discounting the Saints.
My response to that, Tony, would be I kind of want to bring back something you said. Well, first off, Drew Brees threw, I don't know if you didn't see the stat line, but he threw as many touchdowns as incompletions last night. So if he plays that way, they're not going to lose very many games in general. But so we mentioned
last night was a special
we mentioned
night.
the Jaguars and we mentioned that Bortles is good playing with a lead because they can run the ball and play with a lead. Well, the Saints are also good playing with the lead. The thing the Saints have is if they get down, they still have Drew Brees and Sean Payton. And that offense, they might not be able to score 35 and 40 every night, but if they need to, they can do it through the air if that run game gets shut down, which I don't think it will because that Ingram-Kamara combination is really, really electric.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
I agree if they need to. And if you look back at teams that have been dynasty type teams that have won for a considered period of time, they always have that run game. The only team I can think of that didn't have that is the Patriots, but they've got a run game. They just plug and play. We talked about that first week of the season. But for the Saints to get there, they're going to have to be able to run the football. You've got to be able to let the quarterback make the play when it's necessary, not to make the play all the time.
Do you have faith that they can do that, or are you questioning whether they can do that or not?
No, I think they can. I think they can. It's just that don't buy them for Drew Brees. Buy them because Ingram's back and they've got a two-headed monster in the back. That's to me.
I think you're buying the whole package. You're buying the fact that you get Brees coupled with that. So that's enough. Brees. Who are you? Who's who you thought they were?
Well, my who they thought they were is kind of two. It is the Miami Dolphins and Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
And Ryan Tannehill might have hit a home run in the girlfriend or whatever.
Oh, there ain't no might to it. He's a grand slam in that department.
He outkicked his coverage. Is cute. Wow. Anyway, but his last two games, his completion percentage was 55 and 57%. He threw for 100 yards against New England. He threw for 185 against Cincinnati. He had 1 TD combined and 3 interceptions. Their leading rusher is Frank. I'm so old I can't remember my age. Gore. He's actually 35. I mean, I got Kenyon Drake, right? Isn't that the guy's name?
But they don't.
Yep. I mean, Frank Gore's their leading rusher. I don't know what the hell's going on there. They're ranked 22 in team defense. They started out 3-0, and then they dropped their last two. The Dolphins are who
it's starting to look like that start was not them. Like that 3-0 start was pretty, but
it was
that
not
wasn't
them. The last two games is more them, and so they're who I thought they were. The Dolphins just are not going to give that's why the Patriots are going to win that division.
Interestingly,
again, because they've got the Jets, the Bills, and the Dolphins.
In week 3, Dad, after that 3-0 start, someone on the podcast bought some Miami Dolphins stock at 3-0.
No, I agree. Yeah, I'm still standing behind that. I bought the Dolphins. They have hit a 2-game slump. Now we'll see what happens when Devontae Parker's back. They can diversify their offense a little bit. But they do have to establish the run. No doubt about it. Because Tannehill, much like Blake Bortles, cannot put a team on his back and carry him. They've got to be able to run the football. And that's part of Adam Gase's
and I think I like Gase,
game
but
plan is to be able to run the football. Yeah, he's got to be able to put a scheme together, and that scheme has got to include the run game. And so they need to find that again, and we'll see.
So
who's
who you thought they were, Tone?
The Detroit Lions.
Okay, we've heard a little.
And here's why I'm saying that. I'm not saying they're making the playoffs, but I'm not saying I'm buying them. I think that they're who we thought they were. They're going to be a tough out at home. I think they're a pretty decent football team. Stafford is a pretty decent quarterback, but he's not going to get you 3 or 4 or 5 wins in a row. But when you come to town, be careful of the Detroit Lions.
You know what they remind me of, Tony?
If you're getting a plus What's that?
They remind me of, like, if you think of like college football, a team like, and it seems like the Razorbacks have done this a few times, or the LSU's done it a few times, where their record's not that good. They sucked at the beginning of the year, but all of a sudden they're good. And if you're a good team and you're undefeated, you really don't want to play them towards the end of the year.
Don't want to see them.
If you're the Packers, if you need a win, that's not a team you want to see because they can play. There's some talent.
Well,
yeah.
And Matthew Stafford can make every throw.
And his
in the
weapons,
books. That guy,
those weapons that he has,
he's got some weapons. I mean, he's got a live arm and he's got some weapons, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and now Matt Patricia's got a long way to go as the head coach, but they have got some weapons. And if Kerryon Johnson can all of a sudden get 20 carries, a game,
that's just the coach needs to put the ball in his belly. Really, I don't understand that. He's clearly the best running back on that roster.
Well, Matt Patricia, anyway. But I think the Lions are who we thought they were. I think they're going to be a tough out at home. If you're on MyBookie.ag and you see them out there with a plus side on their number, take them.
I like that. I can agree with that. I think they end up being a 7-9, 8-8 team, but they're going to win some games that you didn't expect them to win. If you weren't listening to Uncle Tony, that is. So
that's right.
On that note, let's get into the fun part. And Dad, you always have the bold picks here, so we'll go with you. What team is no longer
playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
So who's just hoping they can win a game? Who you crossing off the list?
Well, it's going to be little Chucky, John Gruden, and the Oakland Raiders this week. And here's my thing, and I've not picked them yet. The reason I'm picking them is because I'm telling you, I'm just am convinced they've sold out for Vegas.
Yeah,
and
you talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Like I talked about a couple of weeks ago, they've sold out trying to make their big move to Vegas, and they want to have draft picks to get them there and all that. And they're just, I don't know if Gruden is holding back. I think actually he's probably a little behind.
Well, and when you trade Khalil Mack for picks, you kind of sell on this year. You kind of punt on the year. It seems like
he's sold out for Vegas. So that's they're not making the playoffs. I was this close to taking the Cowboys, but I wanted to save them for a couple of more weeks. I'll probably take them soon, but the Oakland Raiders are. Oh yeah, I'll use them for sure. But this week it's the Oakland Raiders.
Speaking of the Raiders,
I had them as who I thought they were the first week. I think they are all show no stay, and they're you can see that they'll make a couple of flashy plays. It's Derek Carr, he's great. Derek Carr may be the most overrated quarterback in the last 10 years. He's just not.
Well, that's
there.
what I was wondering. Are we
the same thing?
If you were buying stock on Derek Carr, are you selling? You think? I mean, they paid him a lot of money. He doesn't look like the guy we thought he was a few years ago.
I tell you what, I hope the Carr brothers have some kind of barbecue restaurant out in Oklahoma that they've invested in with their money, because David and Derek have not been successful NFL quarterbacks, and they have gotten the shit beat out of them. So David Carr for the original for the Texans, and now Derek Carr out there for the Raiders. They're just, man, like I said, save your money, boys. Buy land. They're not making any more of it.
Speaking of poor old Marshawn Lynch, you speaking of the Raiders on fourth and goal from the 1 yard line. Once again, you have Marshawn Lynch. I thought maybe people would learn their lesson from Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. John Gruden must have not been watching, because he decided to throw the ball, and Derek Carr throws an interception, and they showed Marshawn Lynch's face. He didn't even look surprised anymore. He was just like, whatever. I mean, whatever. F it, screw this.
He's waiting to replace Jason Witten on Sunday Night Football.
Hell, he'll be better. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Him and Booger. Can you see Marshawn and Booger? That was the Beast and Booger.
The Beast and Booger.
It'd be like Real Housewives. Beep, 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 beep.
I need to send that in to NBC. Hey man, the Beast and Booger show. Let's do it.
The Beast and Booger.
All right.
Booger and the Beast.
So for LJ's playoff team, I asked him to cross off one team, and this is what he responded back. Can I just cross off the entire NFC East? And then he said, well, I guess that can't happen because one of them's got to win.
No.
But he said they're all
got to win.
He said he hates all of them. Yeah. And actually, interestingly, so he said if he had to be pressed to pick one, he'd probably say the Cowboys, but he wants to make an edgy prediction. So he said he's going to take the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending champs, not to make the playoffs.
Wow.
Disagree with
Bold
that.
talk there, Cotton.
Yeah, I do disagree. I disagree with that, but we know LJ's in hiding somewhere. I'm not sure what. I haven't gotten to hear the
Well,
previous
Big Ben gets a
podcast
win.
yet,
The
so I'm not
Broncos don't show up. It's been a rough week for L.
Yeah, somebody kicked him in the taint. I'm sorry. That's a tough way to go, isn't it? Not feeling good. Your Denver loses to the Jets in royal fashion, and Patrick Mahomes looks like the next Drew Brees.
So while we're kind of dishing them out for LJ, I'm going to go ahead and do my playoffs pick, or the team that won't make the playoffs, and it's LJ's Denver Broncos. They look bad. They got the Rams coming up this week, and there's just I think the Rams are favored by 7, and it's in Mile High Stadium. So I don't know if I'll take that, but I don't think they'll win that game. They're going to have to play the Chargers twice still in this season, and then they'll play the Steelers when Bell comes back, if he doesn't get traded to the Eagles or whoever. And then they still play Cincinnati. I just think, I was looking at their schedule. At best, right now they're sitting at 2-3, and at best I think they can maybe win 5 games, but I think they're closer to winning maybe 2 or 3. So I think I see them more closer to 5-11 than anywhere near a playoff spot. And I've already crossed off my team, the Cowboys. So Broncos are who I'm going with. I just think they need to fire their coach and redo it.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, I guess since LJ's not here, you're going to be my target, because I disagree with that one, and here's why. They have a running game with Royce Freeman and Philip Lindsay. Now we'll see if Lindsay can last through the whole season, but at least they can run the ball. I like them better than I like the Chargers.
Wow!
But, just because
I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
I don't know that Von Miller is. I think he's probably better than Ingram, if not the equal to Ingram. And again, I'm not a Joey Bosa fan, so have
you watched him?
Yeah, but he can't stay on the field.
He was the defensive rookie of the year last year.
You think Ben Roethlisberger is weak? You should see Joey Bosa. Man, you touch Joey Bosa, pull his pants a little bit. Joey's go, oh, sports hernia. Oh, what was that? I'm just not a big Joey Bosa fan.
I'm gonna take the sound clip.
State, don't like him now.
I'm gonna remember this. I'm gonna bookmark this, and when Bosa comes back and is tearing the league up,
that's all right. Hey, I've got character. I'm going for it with 4th and 1, brother. I'm out on it. I'm telling you, Joey Bosa's not it. Jason Garrett, that Joey Bosa, he's probably a pretty good player. I'd hate to say anything bad about him. Screw that. Joey Bosa can't stay on the field. So anyway.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, let's stay on the whole train.
I said it before. Hey, here's my call for the week. I say the Broncos cover this week. I would take the Broncos on MyBookie.ag. If they don't outright beat the Rams. This is a trap game. It's a trap game. I told you last week, it's the second game of a 3-game road trip. The Rams went up to Seattle, won a big, huge game, close game. They're coming into Denver looking for the 3rd game of the road trip. Watch out. This is that trap game. Be careful. The Broncos could surprise the Rams this week, especially if Cooks and Cooper Kupp don't play.
And I want to get to your playoff pick, especially Mr. Bold Tony right now. You're over throwing them out. I want to hear what you got. But my last note on the Broncos, I think it's time to start questioning if John Elway is actually a good GM. I mean, there's a couple of very questionable drafts. I think he hit it big with Peyton Manning, and I think this is a long conversation for another day, and we'll get into it. But I think they're starting to raise some concerns. So let's go on to your bold call there, Tony. Who are you crossing off your playoff list? You got anybody good?
You're going to like this. It's the Indianapolis Colts.
Whoa, there we go.
We set ourselves up tonight. Yeah, I think the Colts are 1-4, and they have lost every close game, and they've been in a lot of close ones. They've lost every one. We talked about with character, they are establishing the ability to lose the close game. Once you start doing it, you continue doing it. And I just don't see them. I see them being a 5-11, 6-10 team. They're back to where they need to be from a somewhat offensively, but they're hurt with Hilton with a hammy. I sure hope he's back next week because I'm invested in him in a couple of fantasy football leagues. I really would like for him to be back. Ebron can't keep up that pace that he's got going. He has a history of falling out for 2 or 3 games. They absolutely cannot run the football. They have got to figure out a running back, and so
they need a running game.
The Colts are in some trouble. They are not making the playoffs, and appropriate for the person who's doing the soundbite on this for Mr. Mora. Playoffs?
Oh yeah.
Talk about playoffs?
No, yes,
Playoffs.
okay, yeah, for Mora.
I get what you're saying, and there's some holes in there, and they lose some close games, and I do think you start losing some close games, and that kind of gets instilled in your head, like almost as a team, you start thinking, what are we going to do this week to blow the game? And so I get what you're saying. I just think they got an easy couple of weeks, and then hopefully they get healthy, and I like them, and I'm also I was reaching down at the bottom of the barrel. I was thinking Chargers is who I was going to go with, and I thought I'll be a little bit, but.
Well, I'm already down a 6-pack because Marlon Mack is not going to do as well as Naheem Hines. So Prestige Worldwide's owner down in Austin, Texas, I owe him a 6-pack right now because I thought Marlon Mack was going to do better than he's done. So I'm off.
I would have bet with you on that one, Tony.
Yeah. I'm off the Colts.
All right. Well, we got a big week coming up. I'm excited to see that Chiefs-Patriots game. And LJ did have some thoughts on it wasn't a lot on Ben Roethlisberger. His mention was that he did make some progress. He saw some good things, but he still isn't sold on him and doesn't think he's worth the money he's getting paid. But I read some of his notes, and I wanted to save that for another day when LJ's here to do it because he would have a much better delivery than I can. So
he kind of mentioned my ass last week at that Roethlisberger crap he pulled. Man, I was not prepared for him to come with all that knowledge. Jeez, Pete, warn a guy, will you?
I'll go ahead and warn you now. When LJ gets on a topic, he'll get lost in the interweb. I kind of do the same thing, and we'll start finding a way to back it up. So
well, I didn't have a hole in my T-shirt. I'll just say that.
Did y'all have any other notes from this past week?
Well, I did. I wanted to add just a couple of more things about Mr. DeAndre Hopkins, please. Who may or may not be the best receiver in the league. I don't guess I realized, but he came out of college with another receiver that was on his college team that had a lot more.
He played with two good receivers at old Clemson.
Well, I remember one, and he was a sophomore when Hopkins was a junior. When I look back, I think in 12 or whatever it was, Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins was the one that came out which had all the accolades, and DeAndre Hopkins is dancing rings around Sammy Watkins. A much better receiver. And then look at here's the top 5 receivers as of week 5. Hopkins has 39 receptions, 594 yards. Adam Thielen
is really good. I've been trying to
500
preach his name to our friend group. And
I mean, he is the next best great white hope receiver, I guess, whatever you want to say.
He's the only great white hope.
But that guy, did you see? But maybe that's true. But that catch he made, now Kirk Cousins he laid it right over perfectly, but Thielen made that great catch.
And Thielen is athletic as hell too. He's outrunning guys.
He's a hell of a. I mean, he's like a Julian Edelman, but
he's really got the whole package.
That's what he is. There's a lot of comparison with him and Eric Deckard. If you remember when Eric was really good, there's a lot of comparison to him. Deckard was a little bit bigger. Thielen's got a little more speed.
Speed, yeah.
Speed.
Those are the exact two things I was going to say.
Well, number 3, interesting. Number 3 is a wide receiver who is really good, but hadn't caught a touchdown in 10 months.
Is Julio Jones not going to catch a touchdown?
Julio Jones, who hasn't caught a touchdown,
which is staggering because Matt Ryan's throwing him, just not throwing to Julio.
I don't know if you remember, Kevin might not, but Barry Sanders, arguably the best running back to ever play the game. You can make that argument. Could not score a touchdown.
Yes,
he would 1 or 2 a year, but rack up all these yards. Julio Jones,
run him up down the field. All kind of yards.
Just can't score.
Real quick, finish out top 5. So Michael Thomas at New Orleans, number 4. OBJ is number 5 at the New York.
So
Football
Pops,
Giants.
are you taking Hopkins the best receiver in football?
Yeah, I think right now.
You look at the quarterbacks he's had
certainly
over the past 5 years and the stats he's put up. I mean, he now is Watson, but before it was. I mean, the list is actually pretty funny to go over his quarterback list.
Yeah.
Gosh, I think even who was the kid that was from Texarkana that went to Arkansas?
Ryan Mallett had him for a little bit.
Ryan Mallett was his quarterback for a couple of games. Matt the Schwab. I mean,
Matt Pick 6 job.
Yeah, he's had a few less than stellar quarterbacks throwing to him.
Hopkins has that rare. There's not very many guys that have the kind of size that he has. He's almost the size.
He's 6'1", I think is what I looked up.
But he plays bigger though. He'll go up and catch balls.
But he plays bigger.
The only thing is he doesn't have the size of like a Michael Thomas or a Larry Fitzgerald. He's not. a solidly built a wide receiver. He's thin, somewhat like Antonio Brown. So I would compare him more to Antonio Brown than I would some of the other big receivers.
Well, that's maybe the other best receiver in the NFL. So I mean, that's good company.
Well, if Hopkins had a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback like Antonio Brown does.
Whoa!
Oh, Lord. Oh, come on now.
That was for LJ. So, last year in a league that I play in down there, Hopkins finished number 1 in a PPR format. Number 2.
And that was with Watson missing the majority of the year.
Yeah. And so I think you can make the argument he is the best. If you were going to draft a dynasty team right now, I think you probably take DeAndre Hopkins over Antonio Brown, or Odell Beckham might be right there, but you probably take him over them, which means he's probably the best wide receiver in the game right now.
I don't know. Who would you take, OBJ or DeAndre Hopkins? OBJ brings a little stuff to the table.
Yeah, Hopkins hadn't had a quarterback for 4 years, and you haven't really heard much from him. And OBJ every couple weeks I need to look at this with him, and he's doing a sit.
But OBJ is amazingly talented. Like I said, I mean, there's just
like I said, when seen in person, OBJ is one of the best athletes I've ever seen. He's just phenomenal at what he can do. He doesn't always stay healthy, and at some point in time, his mouth is probably going to get him in trouble.
No doubt.
And you're not
quick to circle up on what we mentioned about Hopkins at Clemson. That wide receiver group when he was at Clemson was DeAndre Hopkins, Sammy Watkins, and Martavis Bryant. We're all out on Clemson at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
There's a picture that circled around on Twitter of all of them in their practice jersey, and you're like, holy cow.
Was that their national championship, those 3 guys?
No, that was before. Okay. That was before.
So just like Houston Nutt with Darren McFadden, Peyton Hillis, and Felix Jones, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that'll do it for this week. Like we mentioned off the top, we gave you all kinds of good knowledge to go bet down. So go to MyBookie and throw down some bets. If you put in the JPP promo code, they will match. If it's your first time, they'll match your deposit. And even if you put JPP 25, they'll even give you $25 on top of that. So take that money. Uncle Tony has been giving you free money for the past hour.
Money.
So just plug it in. All you gotta do is plug it in.
Go Chiefs.
All right, I think that'll do it for this week. Fire Jason Garrett. The Cowboys suck. And,
hashtag fire Jason Garrett.
Peace out.
Peace, love. Crabs. Let's go.
If you recognize that one.
Ice cream castles. That's the time, baby.
The time in the summertime.
See, that I don't know. I knew the LCD, but I don't know that.
You don't know the time?
Castles.
Well, maybe I've heard it, but
The Bird, the Jungle Love, Jungle Love. You know Jungle Love.
I know Jungle Love. Yes, I know Jungle Love. Shout out to Cody.
Chili sauce. Yes.
Jungle Love is Cody's go-to dance song. If anyone tries to challenge him to a dance-off, that's his go-to. Just picture that, Dad. Just picture it.
Yeah, I can see the Amish men dancing to Jungle Love. Which
It's actually pretty impressive.
Any chance y'all are